So welcome back everybody. Thank you again for joining us. Please remember to mute your microphones and turn your cameras off. This is session 3 of the Understanding Trauma course. Here's our brief recap from session 2. Last week we covered anxiety and avoidance. We practiced the leaves on a stream exercise. And we hope you found that useful and have had a chance to practice through the week. Here's our usual contact housekeeping information on the screen for you. Again, it's just a reminder of our booking centre number and a reminder to let us know if you're not able to attend. And also, if you do lose connection, try logging out and logging back in, and we will of course meet you back into the course. So today's session is on hypervigilance. We will also look at the window of tolerance, and our skill for today will be colour breathing. To establish some context, we will start by giving a definition of vigilance. So vigilance is a term that refers to a state of psychological and nervous arousal that the human body and mind uses as a defence mechanism to protect ourselves from possible danger. Human beings are hardwired to engage in survival behaviours. So being vigilant in certain circumstances can be viewed as a positive behaviour or action. For example, when walking through an area that feels dangerous, you may become much more aware of your surroundings, paying attention to and looking for possible danger. So being vigilant is the state of constantly being watchful of potential dangers or threats. Another example of vigilance is when a security guard is always on alert, waiting and watching for something to happen. Another one could be crossing a busy road, or hearing a dog bark or a sudden loud noise. So now we're going to have a look at hypervigilance. So hypervigilance is a common symptom of trauma and is a state of increased alertness. It is our body's way of protecting us from threatening situations and can occur in any environment where we perceive threat or danger. If you're in a state of hypervigilance, you're extremely sensitive to your surroundings. For example, on edge or on guard and easily startled or jumpy. Hypervigilance is when our fight-flight system gets stuck on and is constantly scanning for danger. So hypervigilance is the body's way of protecting you from threatening situations. It can occur in any environment where you perceive an extreme threat. An example may include walking home late at night through a strange neighbourhood. So now we're going to look at a normal trauma reaction, demonstrated here by the pendulum swing. So a traumatic experience can alter a person's worldview. To go about our business in the world, we need to believe that the world is relatively safe. We know that bad things can happen, but when they happen to us, the pendulum swings from feeling safe to feeling unsafe. Sometimes the pendulum gets stuck at unsafe, and this can help us understand why we become hypervigilant. Now we are going to discuss hyperarousal. Otherwise known as the fight-flight response, it is often characterized by hypervigilance, feelings of anxiety, panic, and racing thoughts. It occurs when a person's body suddenly kicks into high alert, even though real danger may not be present. Hyperarousal is when the body acts as if it is in danger. So hyper equals high, that is stuck on the fight or flight system. Other symptoms of hyperarousal could include sleep problems, difficulty concentrating, or irritability. Now moving on to hypoarousal. Hypoarousal is the opposite to hyperarousal and refers to an arousal state that lies at the lower end of the continuum. Behaviourally, hypoarousal may be observed as under-responsive to one's environment. Hypoarousal, or the freeze response, may cause feelings of emotional numbness, emptiness, and feeling disconnected. For example, lethargy, loss of attention, apathy, or boredom. So that is shut down when we are over our stress limit and can't take any more. So hypo equals low, and that is stuck on off. That's the freeze response. So in the face of any stress, you may find that there is flat affect. So depression, exhaustion, maybe unable to think straight. Feel like your body is very heavy. Difficulties making decisions. The most important thing to know is that it's not your fault. So the fight, flight, freeze response is an automated brain function, and you just can't decide to stop it. So here we have hypo and hyperarousal diagram. So what we can see by the illustration is that hypoarousal, or a freeze response, may cause feelings of emotional numbness, emptiness, and shutting down. So what we can see on the screen is extreme distress, slowed breathing, flat affect, and dissociation. On the other hand, we've got hyperarousal, otherwise known as the fight-flight response, and is often characterized by hypervigilance, feelings of anxiety and or panic, and racing thoughts. So again, extreme distress, hyperventilating, extreme emotion, and panic attacks. So now we're going to look at a skill for today, in addition to the skill at the end of the session. And this is called using distraction. So distraction can be a helpful tool if you are experiencing either hyper or hypoarousal. So the 5-4-3-2-1 technique shown here is a simple way of slowing down and calming the system. So the first thing to do is just to take 3 slow belly breaths. And then we're just going to talk you through the 5-4-3-2-1. So firstly, list 5 things that you can see. Then list 4 things that you can feel. Three things that you can hear. Then list 2 things that you can smell. And then finally, list 1 thing that you like to taste. So this is a really simple technique that you can do anywhere. And then once you're finished, just take another 3 slow belly breaths.
So let's look at the window of tolerance. The window of tolerance is a term used to describe the zone of arousal in which a person is able to function most effectively. When people are within this zone, they are typically able to readily receive, process, and integrate information, and otherwise respond to the demands of everyday life without much difficulty. For a person who's experienced trauma, that window often becomes quite narrow, and they may fluctuate between hyper and hypoarousal. When we're inside the window of tolerance, we will feel safe, connect to others, sleep well, and be able to relax. So let's look at the window of tolerance. Up there at the top, you have the hyperarousal, so feeling anxious, overwhelmed, angry, and the feeling to fight or flee. At the bottom, we have hypoarousal, shut down, numb, zoned out, disconnected, and frozen. As we can see, our window can vary and decrease in size depending on our environment, stresses, trauma, and past experiences. When this occurs, we can dysregulate and shoot out of the window of tolerance, where we can experience hyper or hypoarousal. So when we're within that window of tolerance, we're able to reflect, think rationally, make decisions in a calm way without feeling overwhelmed or withdrawn. So let's look at staying in the window of tolerance. Techniques that we have been going through on the course are designed to help us to stay in that window of tolerance. And using these techniques can improve our sleep and relaxation. And as we've said, people are generally more able to remain within their window of tolerance when they feel safe and supported. So now we're going to move on to our skill for today. This is called colour breathing. So please listen and follow my guidance. Make yourself as comfortable as you can. Either close your eyes or gently lower your gaze and just bring your attention to your breathing. Bring to mind a soothing colour of your choice. Anytime that any other thoughts or images or sounds or sensations come to mind, just notice them and gently bring your attention back to your breathing and your colour. So now visualise your colour in the form of a light or mist. If it's difficult to visualise a colour, imagine in your mind's eye something in the colour that you are visualising. So for instance, the green of the grass, the blue of the sky, or the orange of the sunset. See the colour or the mist in front of you, over you, surrounding you, and enveloping you. And as you slowly breathe in your colour, in through your nose, into your throat, your chest, and down into your abdomen. Now imagine the colour is spreading out within you into every part of your body, and notice the effect that this has. Notice the sensations in your body as the coloured light or mist spreads throughout your body and mind. Now continue to notice the colour and the sensations that it brings. Anytime you notice that your attention wanders, Just simply notice that it's wandered, then bring your focus back to your colour. Just going to recap part of that exercise and just go back to noticing and visualising that colour as a light or mist, noticing it in front of you and over you, surrounding you and enveloping you. Breathe it in through your nose, into your throat, your chest, and down into your abdomen. Notice the colour spreading out within you into every part of your body, and notice the effect that has. Notice any sensations in your body as your coloured light or mist spreads throughout your body and your mind. And continue to notice the colour and all those sensations that it may bring. And if your attention wanders, notice that it's wandered and bring your focus back to your colour. Now, whenever you're ready, start to bring your attention back to the here and now, where you are in this moment. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes and look around. Notice what you see and what you hear. Take a couple of breaths and notice the pleasing sensations that accompany this relaxing, coloured breath. Going to leave this on the screen for you now, just for a few moments, so you can recap the coloured breathing exercise and remind yourself of how to do this, so that when you practice outside of the session, you know what to do. And here we continue with those instructions for the colour breathing. So staying in the window of tolerance, the exercise we've just covered will support grounding and staying in and expanding your window of tolerance. And remember, all of these new skills take practice. So grounding is a way of helping you to gain some distance from your thoughts, feelings, and memories by bringing you back to the present moment in time. It helps you to get back in touch with what is happening around you right now and to stay in the present. Grounding can also help you to find balance between feeling overwhelmed by emotions and being out of touch with them, bringing us back towards the window of tolerance. So what follows now is a short video on tolerating uncertainty. Again, this will support our stabilisation and expanding our window of tolerance.
You're listening to Anxious Minds. Tolerating uncertainty. When we're anxious, we tend to overestimate the danger and the odds of bad things happening. And we underestimate our ability to cope if or when those bad things happen. Even if the odds are really small that a bad thing will happen, that tiny chance is enough to really upset us. We call it intolerance of uncertainty. We might think things like, I just can't cope with not knowing. I have to be 100% certain. Uncertain events are almost always bad, so I must prepare for each uncertain event. The thoughts make us feel anxious, so we try to reduce the uncertainty by worrying about it, by planning and preparing for the possible negative future event. However, although we think worry helps us feel better and helps us feel more in control, it doesn't reduce the risk of the possible negative event happening. Sometimes we even think it would be better if the bad thing happened right now, because that would be better than living with the uncertainty. We might try to increase certainty by planning and preparing for each worst-case scenario, by seeking reassurance from others, by checking and looking things up on the internet, by avoiding certain things, putting things off or making excuses, or we might try to keep busy so that we don't think about the uncertain future. However, worrying doesn't affect the future outcome. We cannot prevent all bad things from happening, and life remains uncertain. By worrying about what might happen, how does that affect us right now? Worrying seems like the best thing to do, but it only makes us feel worse and makes us less able to cope with real life. We can deal with uncertainty in two main ways. We can challenge our need for certainty by looking at the advantages and disadvantages of needing to be certain and how it affects us. We can explore the areas of our lives in which we do tolerate uncertainty, or look at how other people deal with uncertainty, such as friends or characters in television programs. The other way is to learn to tolerate uncertainty, to reduce our need for certainty. And we can do this using the acronym APPLE. Tolerating uncertainty with APPLE. A for aware. Notice the need for certainty as it comes up in your mind. P for pause. Don't react as you normally do. Don't react at all. Just pause and breathe. P for pull back. Tell yourself this is just the worry talking, and this apparent need for uncertainty is not helpful and not necessary. L for let go. Let go of the thought or feeling about needing certainty. Tell yourself it is only a thought or feeling. Don't believe everything you think. Thoughts are not statements of fact. They will pass. You don't have to respond to them. You might imagine them floating away in a bubble or cloud. E for explore. You can explore the present moment because right now, in this moment, we're okay. Notice your breathing and the sensations of breathing. Notice the ground beneath you. Look around you and notice what you see, what you hear, what you can touch, what you can smell, right now. Then shift your focus of attention to something else. Maybe carry on what you were doing before you notice the worrying thought, or do something else, mindfully, with your full attention.
So APPLE, as we see on the screen, is a really good acronym. And here's a reminder of what it stands for. So A is for aware. P is for pause. P is for pullback. L for let go. And E is for explore. This is a useful resource to add to your toolkit. So next week we will be covering reliving symptoms with dream completion and progressive muscle relaxation. Please have a go at practicing your colour breathing throughout the coming week. By the end of the course, you will have built that useful toolbox of skills to help you. So thank you for attending, and we look forward to seeing you next week.